Be bold. Be brave. Be extraordinary. Be vulnerable. Be real. Be curious. Be true. Be you. Welcome to Trusting Your Gut with world-class energy intuitive Catherine McIntosh, a show designed to awaken you to enjoy the process of evolving, have fun along the way, and learn to listen to those silent in-between moments. You are the expert of your own life, and nobody knows more about the next steps to take in your journey than you. So please, listen to your gut and discover what's waiting for you to explore. Here is your host, Catherine McIntosh.
All right, my magical friends, welcome to today's show. I am fresh off the mountain. We got about 3 feet of snow in the last 2 days, so it's been quite crazy. It's like middle of winter. So today we're going to be talking about a topic that's near and dear to my heart and something that I'm really passionate about. So I spent the majority of my 20s and 30s really diving into how to heal my own trauma. And I went to grad school for it. I traveled around the world for it. I worked with healers and medicine men and shamans and energy workers and acupuncture. And I've pretty much done about almost everything you can do. And certain things work really well and certain things actually keep you stuck. And so since we are around the holiday season, I wanted to do something about it because there's nothing like family and nothing like holidays to trigger all of your wounds. And, no matter how much I think I've healed from things in my past, they always come up in some way or another, right? They resurface. And it's not about the fact that the trigger resurfaces that is the challenge. It's how do you respond to it when it resurfaces? And so, relationships, especially if you're in new relationships or you start getting serious with someone and all the emotions come up, because guess what? It brings up insecurities, it brings up self-worth, it brings up stuff that may be stuck in your body, in your thought consciousness, or even in your unconscious. And then all of a sudden you respond in a way that isn't your best. And so this episode hopefully will bring to light some things that you can personally do to start to help your own body release trauma that's been stuck that you may not get to. And so, I talk a lot about this, and I wrote about this in my book, and I'm rewriting my book currently. So it hasn't really been out. I haven't really promoted it at all besides the radio show, but the rewrite will be out eventually whenever I get to it. It is a process, and there is always a timing to things. And so I was talking to a client yesterday, and I was saying how there's always a consciousness to everything, right? So there's you and your energy, there's your spouse and his energy, and then there's the energy of the relationship, right? And then if we have a business, there's an energy of a business. If that business has a product or a project or, something, an invention, that has its own consciousness and its own energy. And so everything in the world has an energy. And there's no better place to reveal all of your triggers and all of your traumas and all of your hidden stuff that's still somewhere stuck. And then it resurfaces, and it's up to us to respond to those triggers in a way that actually heals it, that changes it, that transforms it, and empowers you to know that just because an energy is resurfacing doesn't mean you haven't healed some of it, right? So I'll give you an example. I work with people from all over the world, from all walks of life, from some of the most wealthy and most famous people in the world, to your everyday person. And every single person I've ever worked with has some form of insecurity, some form of shame, some form of fear, some form of not enough. And it doesn't matter how successful, how wealthy, how put together, how happy they are. There's something that surfaces. And the difference between those that can get beyond it and those that get stuck in it is knowing how to handle it when it resurfaces, right? And so I believe the key to healing unsurfaced or like unhealed trauma is two things. One is to recognize that you've healed some of it, that you are a different person than you were last year, last month, right? And so it's like you have to recognize that you have changed something, that you have transformed. But the most important piece, I believe, is when it does resurface, to change your relationship to it. So if it resurfaces and you're like, oh my God, I haven't healed. I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in therapy and traveling around the world and it's not better. It's like, that's not necessarily true, right? So my thing seems a little stuck. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. So the key is to reframe your relationship to it, to get curious about it, to ask questions about it, to recognize that it's there, probably to be released, not because it's stuck. And I think that's a really valuable lesson for all of us, is to recognize that when something resurfaces, like dreams, if you have a bad dream, dreams are usually designed, well, looks like I might be stuck. Dreams are usually designed to release stuff that's stuck in your unconsciousness. And so whether you've been through therapy, whether you've done EMDR, whether you've done acupuncture, whether you've tried to release stuff out, I believe that one of the most effective ways to release trauma out of the body is movement. Any type of movement that sets you free. So that could be yoga, that could be breath work, that could be, even meditation doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a movement towards an internal, right, compass, towards checking out your internal world to see whether or not you can release. And when we move the body, right, one of my yoga teachers says your issues are in your tissues. And so when you bring consciousness, so there's a particular movement that is effective. So whether you walk out in nature, whether you consciously do breath work, whether you dance, if you are in a practice, that fun. Technology is so fun. Oh, it's been such an interesting time of year. And so just going back to what I was talking about is this idea of movement. I believe that one of the most valuable things that you can do to sort of heal stuck trauma, specifically in the body, but guess what? Trauma shows up in the way you relate to your business, to your job, to your boss, to your relationships and your friendships, to your children, to your significant other. It is everywhere, but the core of it gets trapped in your physical body. And so I truly believe that the best way to release trapped trauma out of the body is movement. And it doesn't matter what kind of movement it is. So, like I said, and I apologize if I'm repeating myself, my computer froze, is movement that brings you present in the present moment with yourself. It's intentional, it's conscious, it's deliberate, right? It's you being connected to your physical body, you breathing through the uncomfortable moments, you going inside instead of checking out, and being as present as you possibly can, because it doesn't matter who you are, what your life has been like, right? It doesn't matter how successful you are or where you are in your life's journey. We all have trauma. We all have fear. We all have insecurity. We all have worry. We all have shame. We all have doubt. The difference is how we respond when those sort of energies come to the surface. And so if we stop everything and go, oh my God, of course I'll never be good enough, or I'll never amount to anything, or I'll never be successful, or I'll always be broke, or I'll never find someone, or I'm gonna die alone. All of those things are mental repetitions that get stuck and trapped in our tissues, in our cells, in our blood, in our bones. And then we start to get sick. We start to maybe form a dis-ease, right? And I truly believe dis-ease is just unhealed trauma stuck in the body for far too long, right? I'm gonna say that again, and I've never said this actually. Dis-ease, right, is unhealed. It means it's not ease. It's unhealed trauma that's stuck in the body over long periods of time, and it's not resolved, and then it becomes a dis-ease. And that dis-ease could be obesity. It could be a thyroid issue. So I truly believe I deal with a lot of women who struggle with their weight. And I really believe that, and they say, oh, I've been diagnosed with a thyroid issue. I believe the thyroid issues their core root is from a prolonged period of insecurity. So whether they went through abuse, whether they went through trauma, whether they started feeling not good enough over a long period of time at a very young age, then the thyroid starts to break down, right? The liver can break down, the kidneys can break down. If you have too much fear all the time, if you're a hypochondriac, right? Fear gets trapped in the kidneys. And so any kind of movement that is intentional, that brings you to the present moment, that is conscious, that allows you to breathe through those moments where you want to give up, right? There's something about athletes. Athletes are incredible. It takes a certain mental energy to move through, right? And when you get really deep into the energy of it, and you can breathe through the discomfort, when you can be spaced through any form of discomfort, whether it's a fight, whether it's feeling not good enough, whether it's worrying about your future, whether it's worrying about the holidays, whether it's comparing yourself to others, you have the choice and the opportunity to stop a thought that doesn't serve you. And so I really believe that any thought that doesn't make you feel good is a thought that is not in alignment with who you truly are. And anything that isn't in alignment with who you truly are, right? It distracts you, it derails you. And unfortunately, most of us go to therapy, or we constantly talk about the same problem we've had for 10 years, for 20 years, for 30 years, for 40 years. And guess what? We re-energize it in the tissues. We re-energize it in the cells. We re-energize it in the blood and the heart and, the bones. And then we recreate it over and over. So I really believe that in order to get to the root of things, there's a couple things that you need to do. And the most important is some form of movement that is intentional, that brings you to the present moment, that brings you joy, that helps you move through, that gets you to breathe into instead of check out, right? Like I just did a run. We got 3 feet of snow in the last 2 days. I just did one ski run, top to bottom, and my legs were toast. And I was like, oh my God, this is so intense, right? Instead of checking out, I was like, okay, legs, can you move through this? Can you breathe through this? Can you enjoy the moment and use it to your advantage? And so I believe movement, particularly conscious movement, whether it's walking, whether it's running, whether it's yoga, whether it's meditation, whether it's somatic movements, anything that brings you to the present moment is a really powerful thing, because movement moves the energy, and anything we can do to move energy, kickboxing, right? Judo, karate, like all of those things that move energy help heal the body, right? And the second thing that I believe is just as important is to recognize when a trauma has emerged and recognize that you have a choice to change the story, to change the pattern, to rewire your programming, right? To really set a container for yourself where you are recognizing that you're doing the best damn job you can with every day. And, trauma isn't fun. We all have it. We all have different ways in which we deal with it. And I really truly believe that if you're here, you are doing the best damn job you can. And not to judge anyone else's way of doing the best darn job they can at life. And so it's also to recognize there are, people that support you, that energize you, and there are people that maybe they don't. And so being clear with your boundaries, being clear with what you desire, being clear with the energy you want to create, and knowing that it's okay to have fear and insecurity. It's actually not a bad thing, right? I think it was Beyonce. She said, the day that I get on stage that I don't have some form of fear or anxiety is a day I should stop performing. She said, when that energy comes up and her heart's beating and her palms are sweaty and her throat is sort of closing and she's salivating in her mouth, she's like, the day that that stops happening is the day I should stop performing. And so some of us let fear stop us. Get in our heads, we go, oh, the successful people might not have fear. No, they all do. The successful people might not have insecurity. No, they all do. The difference is they just move through it. They don't let it stop them. And so this is your invitation to not let your life story stop you from having the relationship you want, from building the business or being successful or traveling the world or going on adventures or, knowing that you are enough no matter what. And so when you give the body permission, another way to do it is literally simply just ask, hey, body, can you please release anything that we don't need today? And I believe it's sort of an under talked about topic, and I talk about it quite a bit on this radio show, which is healing the parasympathetic nervous system, using the body instead of the head, instead of the mind, because guess what? We all see the world the way we want to see it. So someone might say something to you and they don't mean at all the way that you've interpreted what they've said. And all of a sudden you're in a stuck pattern, you're in a trauma, and now you're regurgitating that trauma. I caught myself today doing it. I went, wait a minute, don't go there. What if, right? What if what someone said to me didn't mean anything in the way that I interpreted it? What if that's my unconscious? And so I believe a really important aspect of this conversation is to know that if it doesn't feel expansive in your world, if it doesn't open your heart, if it doesn't make you feel bubbly and light, the energy that you're focusing on is probably not your energy. I know that's hard to comprehend, right? I deal with a lot of people who suffer with anxiety, right? Who suffer with fear, who deal with depression. And I'm like, what if it's not yours? In my mid-20s, I was uber depressed because I thought I was fat and ugly, and that was the story that I repeated. I no longer have that story running, but I do have other stories. And as much as I work on people and help them, I still have my own stuff, and we all do. This isn't right, wrong. This isn't about being perfect. This is, are you willing to be curious about what's coming up? And this is just my personal opinion based on what I've been working with within my own world, what I've been working with people who I'm around, with my clients, is that there is a lot of energy resurfacing on the planet right now. There's a lot of intensity, and holidays bring it out in everybody. And so if something starts to bring you down, starts to make you worry, starts to give you anxiety, starts to give you a panic, my invitation to you is to stop for a second and invite all of your energy back into your body. Remember your superhero, remember your superpowers, get really present and just take a few breaths, right? One of my favorite things to do is to interlock my fingers and put them behind my head for 2 minutes, and I'll pace around the room, or I'll just lay down and I'll just close my eyes. I'll do some yawning, and I'll ask my vagus nerve, which is that spot on the back of the head, right? That bone that sticks out, and just like, okay, vagus nerve, can you release this trauma that I'm feeling in my body? Can you release this energy that doesn't feel good to me? Okay, cool. Thank you. And if you hold this pose for 2 minutes at a time, you will reduce the amount of cortisol in your body by 65%, which, guess what? Regulates and aligns your nervous system. And when your nervous system, and particularly your parasympathetic, so we have sympathetic and parasympathetic. Your parasympathetic is designed to help you relax, designed to help you find peace, designed to help you surrender. When you can engage your parasympathetic nervous system, you are helping the body release trauma, especially when all of a sudden you go into a contraction, you get anxiety, you get depressed, right? You go, oh my God, right? And then we go monkey mind. Women are much better at it than men. Men tend to be able to do it a little bit better. And so women tend to kind of get stuck in a pattern. And I'm not saying that men don't, but women tend to really overdo it. And guess what? We're talkers. We like to talk about everything. And the more we talk about our problems, right, or the more we focus on fixing problems, the more problems we get to fix. And so start focusing on the things that expand your world. Think about something positive. Think about something you're grateful for. Like, it was so cute today, right? I was feeling a little funky, and this little kid passed me, and he was so happy. The snowbanks were taller than him, and he was playing in the snow, and I saw the joy in his world, and I just went, thank you, universe. Thank you for the reminder to get back to what truly matters. And I believe what truly matters is finding within each of us the kid inside, the superhero inside, the one who loves to play, who's grateful for everyone, who gets hurt and gets back up, who falls down and gets back up, who keeps going no matter what. And so we'll continue this conversation because, you don't need to suffer. You don't need to suffer. And we all do. We all go through suffering. But what if we could change the conversation? What if we could change the story? And what if we could empower ourselves with tools that help us get out of it? So stay tuned. We're going to come back after our commercial break.
Times TV.
Do you trust you? Do you trust your body? What if the key to unlocking the weight, pain, suffering, fear, anxiety, addictions, traumas, and sorrows was already inside of you? Learn to love the skin you are in so you can create the body, business, and life you love. Everyone always says you can't explain what Catherine does, you just have to experience it. From Hollywood actors to New York Times best-selling authors to some of the world's wealthiest and most successful, no two experiences are the same. For private sessions, online courses, live events, and the latest book Jack Canfield calls Game Changer and should be required reading for everyone, go to CatherineMcIntosh.com. CatherineMcIntosh.com.
Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself. Invest in your brand and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. Om Times Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, Om Times offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an Om Times magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on Om Times TV and broadcasting it across the extensive Om Times radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. Om Times. Open yourself to the possibilities.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
All right, my magical friends, welcome back. So we are talking about the key to releasing trapped trauma or stuck trauma in the body. And stuck trauma can show up in our finances. It can show up in our relationships. It can show up in our parenting. It can show up in, sex. It can show up in all these different ways. And it also can show up when we get pain or we get dis-ease or we get diagnosed with something. We start to feel lethargic or, suffering from chronic fatigue. I believe that anything, right, that is troubling us over a long period of time is usually a result of trapped trauma in the body. And so oftentimes we've been taught that talking about our past is a way to heal it. But what I've experienced personally, and I've probably had more trauma than most, right? Not as severe as some of the people I've encountered all over the world, but I've had quite a bit. And people they're surprised when they hear that because they think, oh, you're so happy-go-lucky. I'm like, yeah, well, it's been a wild ride lately. And I've been feeling it and doing the work and really having to walk my talk, which some days are better than others, right? And so back in my early teens, I suffered an experience with my family, and I thought that the trauma itself, I was probably in therapy for 20 years, right? Which sounds like a really long time. That's a very expensive therapy, right? And, it didn't really resolve any of the issues. I thought it did. But what I didn't realize is that the actual trauma was after the event. So I had an instance with my family. I felt really unsafe in my house. I ended up leaving my home for several months and going to live with my best friend and her family. And then I moved back home my senior year in high school. And when I moved back home, that's actually when the trauma got stuck in the body, because all of a sudden I was under a roof where I was supposed to feel safe, and I didn't feel safe in my own home. And I didn't even realize it. And so I had gone to therapy and was talking about, the incident that happened before I moved out. But I never bothered to talk about the current incident of not feeling safe because it didn't even dawn on me that I wasn't safe. And it wasn't until 2 years ago, writing my book, that I realized that the actual trauma that gets stuck in my body was this idea in my own story that I am still working on, right? Is this not feeling safe? And I don't think, men realize how much women go through not feeling safe, and how much we prioritize most of our life around, are we safe? Are we safe in relationship? Are we safe, in our jobs? Are we safe with our bosses? Are we safe late at night in a parking lot walking to our car? Are we safe at night on the streets? Are we safe sharing vulnerable experiences with people we care about? It really does run rampant in a lot of women. And so talk therapy can be helpful, but sometimes it doesn't address the root cause. And so you think you're processing the actual trauma when the actual trauma might be something that you can't even comprehend. And so I believe the route to getting to it is movement, any form of movement. My favorite current form of movement is to do somatic exercises, conscious somatic exercises that start regulating the parasympathetic nervous system, that start helping your body feel safe. And when your body feels safe, it releases trapped trauma. And when it releases trapped trauma, it releases the dis-ease in your tissues. It releases the trauma out of your tissues, out of your blood, out of your body, out of your bones. And so I really believe now more than ever, we need to start this conversation about how do we regulate and align with and prioritize peace, prioritize relaxation, prioritize calm. We're living in a day and age where it's, scrolling and Instagramming and 10-second increments and fast movements and, like everything is so sped up. And so it short circuits our nervous system to think that we always have to be on the go. And I believe now more than ever, we need to prioritize putting the phone away for hours at a time. I have a new practice with my son where it's like, no phones, right? Period of time at the house, no phones. Put them away. Let's hang out. Played a board game with my son for hours the other night. It was so nice. No TV, no distractions. And we just played and we got to connect and chat. And it was really rejuvenating. And so may this be a reminder to you, because I believe that cell phones do keep us distracted and keep us from sitting still for 5 minutes. Remember, I used to travel the world and I would, have my phone in the back of a car going somewhere, and I would take my time, especially if I'd been there before. I'd sit in the back of the car and I would just close my eyes and I'd breathe for 5 minutes or 10 minutes and I'd center myself, right? And so I think we really need to prioritize our nervous systems. And when you prioritize your nervous system, your metabolism can improve, your thyroid can improve, you can help chronic fatigue, you can release years of dis-ease and insecurity and fear and overwhelm and depression and anxiety. And so now more than ever, we are being called to not necessarily have to talk about our traumas or our problems or our upsets, but to reframe them, to create a different relationship with them, to recognize that if you're doing the work in this world to become the best version of yourself every day, if you're committed to not just getting by in life, but to living your best life, whatever that means, right? Because nobody knows better about you and your body than you. Nobody. Nobody knows your desires, your wishes. Nobody knows the intricacies of your past, the intricacies of the way you think and function. Nobody, right? And so this is your invitation to go, okay, what if I can rewire and rewrite my story, right? I used to do a lot of Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, and I love him. I still listen to him. I still meditate to him. And I love because he got into a really bad accident in his 20s and was told he would be paralyzed, right? I believe it was from the waist up for his life. He got T-boned on a bike. He was doing, I believe, some race, and he got T-boned by a truck. And the doctors told him that he had to have surgery, that he might not be able to walk, that he wouldn't be able to, run or maybe even do his practice. And at the time, he was a chiropractor. And he said, nope, I'm not going to do that. What if I can use my mind? What if I can use my breath? What if I can use my intention and get so present with my body that I can rewire the broken bones, that I can rewire the tissues, that I can rewire everything and start again. And if he can do that, if people can heal miraculously from stage 4 cancer, if they can heal miraculously from diseases that we're taught people can't heal from, I truly believe that anything is possible, that we literally can change anything, and it's our belief, right? And so I currently am challenging myself to change some stories that I have about holidays, about feeling alone, about not being good enough, right? About not feeling safe. It's a huge story in my world. And I'm watching certain behaviors that I have that I'm like, ooh, baby, ooh, ooh. Right? And guess what? Guess what? The quickest way to do it is if you start feeling bad, if you start going down the rabbit hole of depression and fear and anxiety or panic attacks, you can choose a different way. And the quickest way I know how is to interlock those fingers, put them behind your head on your occiput. You can even kind of rub the occiput bone. It's that bone that sticks out in the back of the head, and just breathe. You can even close your eyes. You can yawn and ask your body to release any stuck trauma. And it's so funny, just doing that, whew, opens up the space. Opens up the space. And so, my friends, open the space. Know that you have a choice. Know that just because you've had tough situations in your past doesn't mean you have to keep recreating them. If you keep telling yourself a story, that story will recreate and show up over and over again. But if you start to go, you know what? I'm going to stop it in the moment. So I used to have a practice every day, and I've gotten away from it, which I might have to start getting back into the practice, is this question of looking at my life and going, okay, what did I do brilliant today? Oh, I did that. I want more of that. 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 Okay. And what would I do different next time? Oh, next time I have that thought about fear or about, wow, I'm depressed and I can't get out of it, or I have really bad anxiety. Nope, I'm going to stop that. What would I do different? I'd tell myself something different. I'd stop focusing on the anxiety. I'd start to look at everything that is working in my life. I'd start appreciating my body. I'd start paying attention to all the things that are working. That's what I would do different. And so for each of you out there, every moment of every day, you have a chance to do something different. You have a chance to be something different. Your trauma and your past does not define who you need to be. And so if you're curious, I've had a lot of people ask me about somatic exercises. I have a very old video on my website. It's free. There's a free download, talks about healing your nervous system. You can go to my website, catherinemcintosh.com. You can click on that free download, and you can get access to a video that if you do this video 3 times a week, 5 times a week, you will start to feel different in your body. But guess what? It's not a quick fix. It's not a pill that you take. It's do you want to be present to the fact that you chose to be here at this time, that you chose to, be a light in the world, and you weren't destined for suffering and pain. You weren't destined to be miserable. You were destined to live the best life you know how, that's true and authentic to you. Because we all have different wishes, we all have different desires, and I believe that we should all be out there doing the best damn job we can at being true to ourselves, right? At really navigating that life is this beautiful journey, and the hard times are meant to open you up to your gifts, to open you up to your light, to open you up to your power. So if you currently are in a hard place and you are ready to change it, I'm going to invite you, get those hands behind your head, close those eyes, breathe for 2 minutes, do a couple yawns and just ask your body to release it. Call all your power back into you and remember the good things that exist in your life, because it is possible to have a brilliant life. So I just appreciate all of you. Please continue to stay true to you. Figure out what matters to you. Figure out what you value. See where you want to be in the world, what you want to create, how you want to show up for you, for your loved ones. Because holidays, they're about remembering why we're here. And, sometimes holidays get, like, I went shopping the other day. I was like, this is a little overwhelming. Holidays are supposed to be a time of celebration, and a lot of people all over the world end up feeling depressed, feeling alone. And so if you're out there in the world, know that you don't have to be alone. Know that you don't have to hold on to your story. Know that if you're sad, it's okay. And instead of going down the rabbit hole of sadness, instead of coming up with stories to support why you're sad, why don't you just let your body, right, be sad? I used to give myself 24 hours permission to have a pity party, right? To feel bad for myself, right? And if I gave myself 24 hours to have a pity party, 24 hours to be pissed off, 24 hours, whatever it was, within a couple hours, I was over it. Why energies stick around when they don't feel good is because we ruminate on them. We make ourselves wrong for it. Instead of recognizing that if an energy like sadness or anger or fear, right, or insecurity or not enough or not safe is coming up, it's coming up so that it can be released out of the body. And so interlock those hands, put them behind your head, close your eyes, let yourself yawn, let yourself release whatever needs to be released out of your body. Yeah. Call all your power back into you. And remember a moment in your life where you felt unstoppable. Remember a moment in your life where you were blissed out or in joy. So skiing is one of those moments for me. I got to ski. We got 3 feet of snow in the last 2 days, right? And so I also think of a moment when I was 18 and won the game-winning, soccer goal in our state championship, and we won state, right? I think of traveling around the world. I think of backpacking. I think of camping. I think of simple pleasures, right? It's not about material goods. It's about, are you at peace with who you are? And know, even if you're going through a hard time, did you make the best choices you could? And what if you didn't? It's okay, right? It has to be okay in order to move forward. And so give yourself the chance to start over, to start fresh, to renew life, to remember that 5-year-old superhero inside of you, to remember the kid who got up, who got hurt, who cried and then started laughing, who kept going no matter what, because you are that. You have a chance and a choice to realign with your gifts, with your light, with your truth. You have a chance to realign with what matters to you and let everything else go, because love matters, connection matters, being truthful to you matters, and waking up every day and just doing the best darn job at life you can. That's what matters. So wishing you all a beautiful day, week, end of year ahead. Wishing you all a beautiful year coming, and just keep staying true to you. I really want to take a moment to thank all of you for listening, because if you didn't listen, I wouldn't be here. So thank you again. If this episode inspired you, if you think that it would resonate with somebody that you care about in your life who might be going through a hard time, who might need some tools to get over the hump, right? Go to the website, download the free nervous system healing your nervous system, free download. And I look forward to seeing you, staying tuned through the holidays. And until next time, be well.
Catherine is not a medical practitioner nor a licensed therapist. She has strong opinions and will express them, and truly believes that you are your best advocate for any and every area of your life. If you need medical advice, please consult your physician.